Hello everyone and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol battle report for the channel. Still working on the Earth's Mightiest core set models, so they will not be seen today, but in the 17 threat match the Black Order are going up against Hydra, and the popular vote last time was to carry on using the very well standoutable Secure and Extract as opposed to the ones from the Mightiest box. So we are going to carry on using those. It helps make it real simple for people just passively watching where secures and extracts are. I agree that it's probably better than just the symbols they've gone with the new core set. So we're going to carry on using those going forwards, and with that, let's take a look at the teams. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. So here is Team Hydra, this time being led by, what is this Red Skull specifically called? This is called Red Skull, Master of Hydra, that makes sense. He is going to be the affiliation leader, giving his bonus out, and he brings along the Hydra goons here, being joined by Viper at the back there, Armin Zola, Baron Zemo, and his daughter that he doesn't really like, Sin, and their tactics cards have just come down here. Victory Assured, Inevitable Betrayal, Two More Shall Rise, Occult Research, and Endless Legions. And for the Black Order, there's no Thanos this time, so we'll be using one of the tactics cards that we'll go to in a second that makes Corvus Glaive be the leader. He's here with his wife Proxima Midnight. Coming along is the Daughters of Thanos, Nebula and Gamora, and then we have Black Giant at the end there. It is Black Giant, right? That's the name I always blank on. No, it's Black Swan. I get their names mixed up every time. They just don't stick. And their tactics cards are first of the Black Order, that's the one that gives them the affiliation bonus. They'll all be getting power if they daze or KO anyone. Execute, Mothership, Blood to Spare, and Price of Failure. And here's the two crisis cards being played today, both 17 threats, so it doesn't matter which one is the actual point value being played because they're the same. But the extraction, so the red symbols on the map that we'll show in a second, they are the cosmic cube fragments that give you power and hurt you in the cleanup phase. There is 5 of them available. And then the secures, so the blue icons on the map, that is the origin bombs. I don't think we've done the new version of origin bombs. It's basically the same as before, but they're much closer together now to force a central fight. It's still 1 VP for each origin bomb controlled. Actually, it used to be 3 for majority, right? Either way, to control an origin bomb, you roll equal to your character's energy defense, roll more hits, crits, and wows than there are enemies to claim it. If the roll contains at least 1 skull, you suffer 1 damage, but you could still convert to holding it. So that's it. And if we look at the map real quick, so the cube fragments 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in the middle slightly offset because one of the secures, the origin bombs, is right there as well, and one is slightly in the favour of that side of the table, and then one slightly in favour of this side of the table. And we're done setting up for deployment. The Black Order are to your left and Hydra are to your right. Black Order will be taking first activation. At this point, we'll just quickly cover that the first of the Black Order is being used. Great card art. So, if your squad does not contain Thanos, after deployment, when you would normally select your leadership ability, Corvus Glaive can play this card. It gives them the right hand man. When an allied Black Order character dazes or KOs an enemy character, all other Black Order characters gain 1 power. So it's excellent for power generation, and easier to take advantage of than Thanos is, which you have to kill people. So it is a good one. It is really good if you don't have Thanos on the table. Anyway, quickly cover. Red Skull and his Hydra goons are down here, and then we have Viper, Zemo, Zola, and Sin. And then over here, the two daughters are together here. Black Swan is in the middle, and then the happy couple are up this end here. So with that, let's jump in and see how this plays out. So it was Black Swan who got the game started, which is good because that gets the one whose name I can never remember out the way nice and quick. She just moved up into the centre, paid 1 power to pick up the cube fragment that was there, and had nothing left to try and turn the origin bomb, but just her being there would make it harder for anyone in Hydra to be able to control it. And for Hydra, it was Baron Zemo doing much of the same, using his long movement first to stop by the extract that was closest, paid his 1 power to pick it up so he's holding a cube fragment, and then moved into position so he's just within 1 of the origin bomb on the other end of the table there, but no power to try and control it either. Gamora shot up the side of the table for the Black Order next, wedging herself against the building there, and close enough within range 1 of both the origin bomb and the cube fragment that was there, but she paid her 1 power to take that. Nobody's caring about the origin bomb's turn 1 apparently, and because she has no power. I don't think anyone started with the extra power actually. So she's just helping hold that. She's not going to get any help from Nebula in that regard because she can't contest or hold objectives. But she does get some rerolls against anyone who is securing or holding an objective. So she's trying to hold on to her activation to maybe get the jump on someone. Viper was up next for Hydra, making use of her long move to get right into the centre, and she paid her 1 power to try and convert the Origin Bomb in the middle there, needing a extra success for Black Swan being there. There's the roll right there in her energy defence. She, even if Black Swan wasn't there, she was not able to convert the bomb, so that's pretty disastrous. She didn't roll a skull though, so there's no damage. Still not great though. Leaving his wife back there for now, Corvus Glaive activated and moved up, grabbing the Q fragment that was down here for 1 power on his way, and then contesting the Origin Bomb over here, but having no power to try and even turn it. In hindsight, maybe dropping Nebula and having a couple of the Infinity Stones in the team might have worked out better, like 1 on Corvus, 1 on Black Swan. Would have given them a little bit of extra power, which would have given them the advantage early. I guess we'll see what Nebula does. Sin saw an opportunity to activate and go try and grab one of those Origin Bombs, and came down here, rolled their dice for paying 1 power, and not only did they fail, almost exactly the same roll as Viper got, with the addition of a skull, so all she did was hurt herself for 1 damage. Not great. Second last activation for the Black Order in a very quick turn 1. Proxima shot up into the centre, paid her 1 power to interact with the central Origin Bomb. There's the roll right there, no skulls, 3 successes, hit crits or wilds, so she has successfully converted it to Black Order control. And the second last activation for the first turn for Hydra was Armanzola, who only moves small, but his big base did allow him to get within 1 of this Origin Bomb. He paid his 1 power, rolled a blank, hit and a wild, and converted it successfully despite Corvus being there. It's going to be a very interesting fight there in turn 2. And finally for the Black Order, Nebula moved up to get Viper within range 3 to attack with her, is it her pistol that's range 3 or shock pistol? 4 dice generates 1 power flat, and given that she's attacking someone holding or contesting an objective, she gets full rerolls. That did not help her get any damage. The only 1 hit she got was successfully blocked by Viper. So with that, it is going to be over to Red Skull and his goons first of all to take us to the end of the final round. Incidentally, almost literally everyone on the table has energy defense 3. Black Swan has 4, and Red Skull technically has 2, but at the start of each turn he picks whether or not he buffs his energy or his mystic. He has nothing to fear from mystic, so that's why it hasn't been mentioned. He'll be buffing energy full stop. So just mentioning that on camera now in case you were wondering, but there's no mystic attacks on the table. So the Hydra goons just moved up twice, their small movement to there. Red Skull followed doing 2 movement actions, picking up the cube fragment, the final one that was on the table, for his 1 power when he passed by before doing his second move action, which got him over here. But then he used All-Consuming Obsession, I think it's called. Yep, it is not an action. He suffers 1 damage to get 2 power. So he hurt himself in order to get 2 power, 1 of which he spent to try and convert this, and his energy defense is currently buffed up to 6. I think 2 by default, and then his Leviathan armor buffs it by 3 or 4. Either way, he easily converted it with just Gamora there, and that takes us to the end of the first round. And at the end of a fairly speedy turn 1, here's how the points stand. Let's do Hydra first. They, as we just covered, have taken control of a second Origin Bomb, 1 there, and they control the 1 over that end of the table, and they've got a cube fragment on Zemo and Red Skull, who will both be taking 1 damage at this point, but that also scores them 2 more, so that leaves them at 4. The Black Order have the other 3 cube fragments on Black Swan, Gamora and Corvus, I believe. They'll all be taking 1 damage as well. And they hold the central Origin Bomb. So it's even Stevens, both sides, with 4 victory points going into Battle Round 2, with the Black Order retaining first activation. So after a fairly run-of-the-mill turn 1, turn 2 is getting started with the Black Order pulling no punches. Proxima Midnight activated and immediately did a basic 5 dice strike with Pierce on Wilds into Viper. Only did 1 damage through, all said and done, but that was enough to give her enough power for what she wanted to do next. She played Execute, which we don't usually even get to see played, honestly, because of the strict criteria of how close the other, wife or husband, depending on who's playing it. But in this case, it's Proxima Midnight targets an enemy character with an attack that is within 1 of an allied Corvus Glaive. Both pay 2, which they have, because everyone who got hurt by holding a cube fragment generated power, so he had enough. The enemy character rolls no defense during the attack, so she did another strike into Armanzola. Granted, he would have only had 2 defense anyway, but wanted to really, really hurt him. Did 3 damage, which is decent enough. and then she spent one of that power, sorry, to do Wife of Corvus Glaive. So her activation technically isn't over yet. Corvus is activating though, and then it ends once he's gone. So we'll be back after seeing what he's doing. He wants to take out Zola and maybe Viper in one turn. And Corvus didn't quite achieve everything he wanted to. His first attack into Zola only did 1 damage. That was with piercing as well. So he had to use his other action to attack him again. He wanted to take out Zola and got the 2 damage required that Zola is dazed. So everybody has gained 1 power from that on the Black Order side. But he spent that just to try and be cheeky, to try and convert this bomb here, because if every one of his 3 dice rolled for it was a success, he would have done it. He got 2 out of 3, no skulls, so it's staying with Hydra for now. So after that back-to-back activation, Hydra activated the Red Skull, the Master of Evil? Master of Hydra, sorry, I was close. So the Hydra goons go first. They moved into position at the secure and then shot their, what is it called, Hydra energy weapons, 4 dice, into Gamora, managing to do 1 damage to her. Actually, no, sorry, no, they did not. They didn't do that 1 damage. They tried and failed. Red Skull did that across 2 blitz strikes, 6 dice physical, with pushes and potential moves for him, depending on results, but neither are really applied. And on the second set, he spent 2 power on Empowered Gauntlets, which let him count blanks as successes. They generate 1 flat power for him as well. The first set of punches into Gamora did 1 damage. She spent on Martial Prowess for both attacks, giving her 5 defense dice, and if she managed to take no damage, she would have dealt 2 damage to Red Skull. Didn't happen that way, but second strike did 3 damage. If she hadn't have taken those 5 defense dice both times, I'm pretty sure he would have dazed her. So she is still alive on 2 health. Still got some power as well, because the damage did get through. If Martial Prowess had worked in her favour, though, Red Skull would have been in a lot of bother. So Gamora actually only had 1 health left because she was damaged by the cube fragment she's holding, so she activated fearing that Viper might go try and finish her off. Doing 2 Godslayer attacks, the first one into the Hydra goons just to get rid of them, dealing 3 damage, which is exactly enough that they're gone. They can return, of course, but for now, at least, they're gone. The Godslayer attack into Red Skull didn't do as great, did 1 damage. She then paid 2 for Assassin's Leap to launch herself into him. He completely dodged / blocked. And then finally she paid 1 power to convert the Origin Bomb and did succeed there. So it wasn't a complete wash, but definitely not as good as the updated Gamora stat card could normally put out, because she's really good now. Didn't really feel it there though. So Viper did activate to go try and take out Gamora, moving along to get where you can see her down here, and then doing a basic Poison Blade, I think her basic attack is called, into Gamora 5 dice. And she didn't have the power for Martial Prowess, but that didn't matter because there was only 1 success in the attack roll, which she deftly blocked. So a little bit frustrated with that, Viper did pay 1 power to try and convert the Origin Bomb there, and also failed to convert that, rolling only 1 success and needing 2 because of Gamora still being on her feet. So not a great activation there for Hydra, and that's their little negative things they've been experiencing are starting to really pile up and give the Black Order the advantage. Well, thanks to that double activation earlier, we're already down to the second last activation of round 2 for the Black Order. Nebula activated and chased after Viper. Going round behind her, getting placed within 1 after eventually spending her 3 on Shock Sword Assault. 6 dice energy with full rerolls for her target contesting or holding an objective. And on a stun, she would have got a stun on a wild, but I don't think she got... no, she did get a wild. No, so she did do a stun. But she needed to do 4 damage to take out Viper and only managed to do the 3. So Viper is hanging on by a thread with 1 health remaining. Sin activated, leaving Baron Zemo over there to activate later. And came over to the central Origin Bomb, that's the one. Paid 1 power to try and convert it and failed. And then just shot automatic pistols into Proxima with the rapid fire. So 4 dice physical twice. The first barrage did insanely well. And actually, it would actually be 2 because she reduces damage by 1, doesn't she? Yes, so she actually took 2 damage, sorry, not 3. Forgot about her immunity. But still did really well. The second set, however, of shots was completely blocked. So Baron Zemo activation has been played out. However, totally forgot Black Swan had not activated. So she should have went after Sin. But Baron Zemo's activation's played out, so we're just going to cover that now and then kind of backtrack and do Black Swans. She's going to go try and finish off Viper because that makes the most sense. So that's not going to change based on what Baron Zemo did, which was show off his prodigious speed. Moving long, paying 2 for a charge to move again, plus an attack, to go after Gamora just to sneakily try and snatch some last minute points. Didn't get close enough to try and convert the Origin Bomb. Did get close enough though to do a basic strike with his Strategic Genius rerolls to do 3 damage. She had 1 health left, so dazed. Paid 1 power and picked up the Q fragment she used dropped, so he's now holding 2 and will take 2 damage at the end of the turn. But there should have been a Black Swan activation. She's either going to go after Sin or Viper, so again, Zemo's activation doesn't change. He was going to go and sneak across the map and go after Gamora regardless of what happened with Black Swan. So we're just going to go back now and do that. Well, Black Swan certainly chose to be violent today. Starting, well, she had 3 power. She spent 1 on an I-beam and then the other 2 on a charge. The I-beam went right into Sin for 3 damage, dazing her. She wasn't holding anything though. The charge took her over here into Viper, as explained, got her for 4 and also dazed her. So a lot of dazes at the end of the turn there. That's going to be 3 flipping for Hydra and 1 for the Black Order. But let's see how the points for this round have shaken out. So then about round 2, everyone who is holding a Q fragment will be taking 1 more damage and generating power. Haven't been mentioning it, but the Hydra affiliation bonus is at the top of the power phase. If you're holding or contesting an objective, you generate power there too. Totally forgot about the power generated from another couple of dazes for the Black Order. Both sides are really power hungry and they're sitting on a lot of power going into round 3. But points wise, Hydra, they have 3 of the Q fragments, 2 on Zemo, 1 on Red Skull. They also have 1 of the Origin Bombs, the one up there, giving them 4 more points, taking them to 8. And for the Black Order, they have the other 2 Q fragments. Let's see who has them. 1 on Black Swan and 1 on Corvus, I believe. And then they hold the other 2 Origin Bombs. Amazingly, this one here, despite all the enemies around it, and the one in the middle. So they also gained 4, meaning it's still entirely even with 8 points apiece as we go into battle round 3, with the Black Order still having first activation, because Zemo should have been the final activation there. And yeah, it was done out of order. But a lot of people sitting on a lot of points, power rather, a lot of people flipping cards. This is going to be violent. So we are up to the first activation of Battle Round 3. It was Corvus Glaive, and he is popping off something fierce into poor old Hydra. Starting with Armin Zola, he spent on a Death Blow, which has a flurry on a hit and a shield, or sorry, a wild and a shield, which he did get. The initial Death Blow did 4 to him, and then he got to do a free strike, which did 2, meaning that Armin Zola hasn't had much of a game. I think he does better with Strucker and staying back, as it turns out. So Armin Zola is dead, and then he did a Atom Splitter, yeah, range 4, 4 dice energy, into Sin, and 3 crits plus a hit. So it did pretty well, all in all doing 4 to her. Now she is pretty tanky on her flip side, she's got 6 health, so she's still very much alive with 2 health remaining, but he also paid 1 and converted this Origin Bomb once Zola was out of the picture, and he's paying 1 for Husband of Proxima Midnight, so she is getting to activate. And this could be real bad. So with Proxima activating, she did a basic strike into Sin, taking advantage of that pierce, doing the 2 damage required that Sin is also out of there, generating yet more power for the Black Order as well. She then spent 4 or 3, however much it is, on a Quantum Starburst, range for 6 dice energy, and if it deals damage does a plethora of stats effects. Did that into Zemo to try and daze him, to make him drop the 2 Q fragments he's holding. His defense roll was absolutely amazing. Just completely, every single die was a success. So fully blocked the damage, and considering himself lucky, because if he'd gone dead, well, he wouldn't be removed, but if he was dazed as well as a double kill, that would have been real bad. Hydra can still come back from this as is, but who they activate next and how well they do is definitely going to be a deciding factor, I think. So it had to be Johann Schmidt, aka Red Skull, that went. He spent 5 power on Neil before me, 9 dice, energy or mystic, in this case he chose mystic, did it into Black Swan and got her for 5, instantly dazing her. She had 2 damage on her and 6 health. So she was dazed, he paid 1 power to pick up the cube fragment that she was holding. Then he did a basic strike into Nebula, got her for 4, took her from full health to 0, so she's dazed as well. And then finally paid 1 power and converted the Origin Bomb there successfully. Now because Proxima and Corvus did that double activation thing again, and with those 2 dazes, it actually only leaves Gamora left to activate for the Black Order. She could absolutely pass, because Zemo and Viper haven't gone. Oh, and sorry, when he activates, if there's not Hydra Troopers on the table, they appear on the table but they have a stagger token, so they don't get to activate. But she probably doesn't want to let Zemo and Viper both attack her. she's going to have to try and do something and then maybe get away. So it's down to Gamora for them. Let's see what happens. Well, Gamora started by spending 2 on Assassin's Leap to see if she could get lucky, launching herself into Zemo, and she did. She did 2 damage and managed to daze him. She was still within 1 of the Origin Bomb. He dropped 2 cube fragments and she had 3 power left. She spent them to pick up the 2 cube fragments and then try and convert the Origin Bomb. She failed at that and included the first roll of a skull in any of these attempts, so she hurt herself for 1. And then she ran away. She yoinked those objectives and she did a runner. Moving long twice is her 2 actual actions. All the way over here next to Corvus, there's the 1 damage on her for rolling that skull and trying to convert the Origin Bomb. But yeah, that puts her over there, but also denies Zemo's activation, obviously. So which means we're right over to Viper to end off the turn. So for Viper, there wasn't really anything else to do. She moved along into the centre here. She spent on a Viper strike because she's been sitting on a lot of power. I don't know if it was fully 10, but either way. She did a Viper strike into Proxima, had 1 success in her roll. Wasn't even a wild, so she couldn't do poison, and Proxima blocked it. So nothing to speak of there, but she did pay 1 to interact with the Origin Bomb and did successfully convert it to Hydra, which might matter because they're down people now. So they want to try and keep the point spread in their favour. Speaking of which, let's go see what's happening at the end of battle round 3. Well, amazingly, at the end of round 3, it's actually completely even still. So Hydra has 2 cube fragments on Red Skull. Speaking of which, he is now 1 hit away from dazing, thanks to all the damage he's been accruing from holding those and hurting himself in round 1 or whenever it was. So he's almost dazed, but he did generate 2 victory points, and they hold 2 of the Origin Bombs for a victory point each. So 4 gained, taking him to 12. 4 gained every turn. Black Order did the exact same thing. They've got 2 cube fragments on Gamora, who obviously takes 2 damage. They've got the other one on Corvus, I believe, and they hold the 3rd Origin Bomb over there. So they, for the 3rd turn in a row, also gained 4 victory points. It's 12 points apiece going into battle round 4. Hydra is down 2 activations though, and I'm not sure. I think with the Black Order still going first, they're most likely going to take advantage of that double activation again. Unless they whiff. And if they completely whiff Proxima and Corvus's activations, that would be the end for them, I would think. But if it even just does average, it's going to be bad for Hydra. But anyway, let's jump into battle round 4 and see. As we start battle round 4, there is a slight correction. When the Hydra troopers were placed on the table with the stagger token, they still had another action. The stagger token goes away as their first action. So rolled out their dice as if they were shooting at Gamora because that was the only target they had. And there's the roll right there. They did nothing. So it doesn't matter. We can play on as normal. Black Order, first activation of the turn. So rather than Corvus Glaive or Proxima Midnight being the first to activate for the Black Order, it was actually Black Swan, because she's been sitting on 10 power after that beating she took last turn from Red Skull, and wanted to start just annihilating everything. So that's precisely what she did. She spent, is it 5 power on both? No, it's 4 power actually. She mustn't have had 10 power then, she must have had 8. Either way, she did an everything dies, 8 dice physical on Viper. It only did 1 damage. Viper spent twice actually for Coiled Serpent, her version of Martial Prowess, 5 dice for defense instead of whatever you would normally roll. She still did 1 damage with it though and got a hit, which means she's allowed to do a follow-up eye laser attack, which did 4, which takes Viper to dead. Which meant she still had an extra action because that eye beam is a free additional on top of an everything dies. So she did another everything dies on Red Skull. He only had 1 health left, so you might consider that overkill, but she had an axe to grind. He took 5 damage and is very much dazed. She has no power left with which to grab the 2 Q fragments he was holding, and they've been placed over there as a result. Nebula can't touch them. She's not allowed to hold objectives, so that's really just to try and force Zemo to get over there, because he and... actually I think the goons just go away if he's dazed, don't they? I need to double check that. I don't know if the goons get to activate. I don't think they do, because he's dazed, he's not removed off the table. Double check that. If the goons don't get to do anything, it is just down to Zemo, and he is not going to be able to change the point spread enough, probably, but he can during his activation certainly run up there and grab those cube fragments at the very least. Before we jump into Zemo's activation, yes, if all parent characters of a grunt is dazed, then they get dazed as well. It's worded like that in case you have Shadowland, Daredevil and Elektra, since they both control hand ninjas. So if both of them were dazed in that instance, they would be dazed. If only one of them was, they would not. Well, Zemo did what he could, initiating a charge action, putting him right on top of the 2 extractions there, and attacking with a steel rush into Nebula, trying to take her out. Managed to do 3 of her 5 health, so didn't quite do enough, and then ran away long down here, hiding, holding those 2 cube fragments, because with those and those, that would take them to the 16 points required to win. Currently, the Black Order don't have enough points. So what they would need to do is either Nebula needs to take out Zemo, or they need to convert both the other origin bombs. Although if they did that, I think that only takes them to a draw. We'll need to see if they can do some kind of shenanigans. Well, Nebula gave chase, moving along after Baron Zemo, then spending on a shock sword assault into him, getting him for 2 damage. Not enough. He has 5 health on his flip side, I think. So he's got 3 health left. But there is shenanigans that can be done, because Nebula cracked out Mothership. Oop, the card has now fallen. Paying 2 and paying 2 on another character to place 1, not holding an objective within one of the other. So you'll just have to believe me since the card fell. But Proxima Midnight is just appearing right here via teleportation to say, I'm going to be taking those cube fragments. And it is only her, Gamora, and Corvus to go. This is the one that really matters, because Corvus and Gamora are only really going to try and shift origin bombs. So let's see what Proxima does. Well, Proxima just did 2 of her basic strikes, relying on those wild pierces to see her through. First attack did 2, second attack did 2, until enough that Zemo is also out of there. She has 4 power, that's what she was holding on to power to make sure she had enough to pick up the cube fragments. She is now holding the 2 of them. So really that is it for Hydra, but we'll quickly see if origin bombs get converted. So Corvus just moved once and then tried to convert that origin bomb, and at the cost of 1 of his own health for rolling a skull, he succeeded. Gamora moved along twice to get right back where she was last turn. Also suffered 1 damage, but did succeed in converting the origin bomb. That does mean if there was going to be another turn, she'd just die at the top of the next turn, because it would do enough damage for the cube fragment she's holding that she'd be off the table. But that doesn't matter, because the Black Order have basically sweeped Hydra. They're scoring every point available, but let's cover that properly. So at the end of Battle Round 4, and indeed the end of the game, Hydra are scoring 0, meaning that they're staying on 12, which is where the Black Order were, but they have all 5 cube fragments, 2 on Proxima, 2 on Gamora, 1 on Corvus, and they hold all 3 origin bombs, so they gained 8, taking them to a staggering 20. So 20 plays 12, the Black Order take the victory today. So certainly a rough one for Hydra there, especially at the end, although for a while it was looking okay. It's just they had a couple of bad rolls, and the Black Order were a bit on fire, and making use of that Proxima Corvus dual activation also very helpful for them. If Thanos had been here instead, or if they'd had... I mean, Nebula didn't do that much, although she was integral in getting Proxima over to Baron Zemo. Although if he had kept those, and everything else had played out as is, it would have been, what, 18 versus 14, so it didn't really matter. So dropping her for a couple of Infinity Stones might have been more interesting. Put the Power Stone on Black Swan, and I don't know, one of the 2 gems Corvus can have on him that's worth 1. I think that would have been more effective, not that they needed help being effective. If Thanos was in the lists, you'd have to what, drop Nebula and Black Swan, so you'd only have the 4 activations. No Infinity Stones. I think they would have done worse in that situation. Thanos doesn't carry unless he's got Infinity Stones most of the time. So yeah, I think that Corvus is very good as a Black Order leader. Hydra still working out how they work. The Red Skull, that red version of Red Skull has so many things he can do with lots of power. The Kneel Before Me is an amazingly powerful attack, but if he wants to play Inevitable Betrayal, not that it was relevant here as it turns out, that needs, what, 8 power? If he wants to play the Occult thing that gives him 3 actions per turn instead of 2, that takes 10 power, and he doesn't generate beyond his affiliation and 1 flat damage, 1 flat power from his basic strike. So he has to kind of get knocked around. Well, and he has that free attack, or free power, where he deals damage to himself in return for power. He couldn't really do that here because the cube fragments were damaging him. So he was a little bit hindered with the give and take, but still very fun. So anyway, I hope you did enjoy. Eventually you will see the mightiest core set heroes on the table. they just keep getting pushed down the to-do list with other things taking priority. Apologies for that, but you will see them eventually. Thank you for watching though. Please do remember to share your support, and if you would like to go above and beyond this holiday season, please do consider becoming a channel member or pressing the thanks button. It helps out. Or if you're interested, check out the channel sponsor. The affiliate link will be in the description box below. Have a nice day and see you next time. Ta for now.